So, and I just remembered to hit record. So y'all are going to get bits and pieces of this one. So engagement, how do you go from being unique, being interesting, getting people's attention, right? You have to put out content that is relevant to your community. I'm not talking just your physical community, but I'm talking the community around you, your online community and your offline community. Your content needs to hit a nerve. It needs to connect to people. And while y'all are at it, subscribe to Wendy's YouTube channel, because she's beating all of us hands down getting subscribers and hours of views. And she's like 50% to monetization. So you have to connect to people, and you're going to have to test your message. This is the part that people don't like. You have to try different things, and you have to see what people are going to respond to. Invite people in. One of the reasons that Women's Entrepreneur Network is successful is that I invite people to talk about themselves. I invite people in. It's not the Haley Show. And in fact, a lot of times Women's Entrepreneur Network is really more about Haley being the behind the scenes traffic cop than being the person who's out front. Because I realize that people like to talk about themselves. They like to see themselves. They like to see themselves featured. They like to talk about their businesses. They like to talk about their lives, but not too deeply, because this is social media after all. Test the strategy. When I first started the group, one of the things that I really struggled with was engagement. People would come in and they would consume vast amounts of information, but they didn't really interact. They didn't really engage. And part of that was my own fault, because I wasn't asking them to react. I wasn't asking them to take the next step. I wasn't asking them to respond. So if you're trying to get a response, if you're trying to get engagement, sometimes you ask for engagement. Sometimes you message your friends and you ask them to comment on your stinking threads. But it needs to be an appropriate thread for people to engage on. So it's important that your content be inviting people in. I learned this the hard way. I did a lot of testing. I finally was able to get a lot of reaction on a first comment of, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? How stupid is that, right? And then I realized people wanted to talk about their businesses. They don't necessarily want to talk about their problems, because one of the problems is if you actually mention a problem online, you've got 50,000 VAs messaging you saying, hey, I'm going to fix your problem. Let me sell you all your crap. Let me sell you. Lord knows, if I ever mention that I have a migraine online and I am a migraine sufferer, I get 50 people trying to sell me their lotions and potions and God only knows what. When I had bariatric surgery, I had no less than 8 or 9 different health coaches tell me that they knew the exact thing I needed to be following to lose weight at that point. And most of it contraindicated my doctor's care. Some of it would have killed me. So you have to be careful about putting stuff out online, or you're going to get these random messages from people trying to sell you stuff. So people don't want to air their dirty laundry online a lot of times because they know they're going to get a lot of unsolicited advice. Sometimes when I share my scenario with my family and my daughter's mental health struggles, I share the very tippy tiny bit of the iceberg sometimes, and I get some really nonsensical advice from people. No, you don't understand just how severe it is. And I'm really sure that magnets are probably not going to fix the problem at this point. We tried that. Or maybe I should take her to some witch doctor in New Zealand. That is, of course, not paid for by insurance, and it'll be out of pocket, and it'll only be $50,000. But they're sure it'll cure the schizophrenia and the traumatic brain injury. So this is part of the challenge of engaging on social media, right? And inviting people in and being selective with what you share and how you share, and testing your strategies and seeing what people are going to do with them. I've learned people like turtle pictures. Have y'all met Beans? And I have a rescue who is not currently sitting under my desk. I think she's probably sitting over there somewhere. And people like dog pictures and stories, giving them something to engage with. They like the Friday afternoon, the bar's open. Invite people in, encourage them to interact with you. Be real, but don't be too real sometimes. Or if you're going to be really real, just be prepared to put on your big girl panties and deal with it. That goes for the guys too in here. You know, put on your flame retardant underwear and just be aware that you may be dealing with things. The trick with engagement on social media is to be real, to be relatable, to be a person, to speak to people as if they're humans. And remember that the other person on the other side of that computer, just like Becky, just like Meg, just like Denise, just like, you know, crazy Becky here, and Susan and Wendy and Beth, who I just let into the group, and everybody who's here, who I can't see on the screen at the moment, is a real person. Remember that you're talking to real people who have real feelings, and they have very, very real feelings. They have real thoughts. They have real beliefs, even if they're not exactly like yours. And in many times they're not going to be, and that's okay. People come onto social media to be social, not to be sold to. If you start treating your social media, whether it's your business page or your group or your personal profile or your LinkedIn, as that extension of you, the personal, it becomes much easier to actually sell, because you're not selling at that point, because you're connecting with people. And then they're like, oh, that's interesting how you're doing that quilting stuff, Wendy. And I'm looking at those Christmas ornaments that you're making and how amazing those are. And I need one of those. And oh, by the way, Meg, I need one of those F-bombs for my Christmas tree. And PJ, I might need a dress, because you're telling me stories and you're connecting with me, and you're not trying to do unto sales unto me. And if you can separate that connect and interest and tantalize and tingle piece and get people pulled in, that's where the magic happens.